Chapter 101, So Adorable, So Terrifying. After leaving Jiangdong University, Fang Hao picked up Lu Yu from the hospital and headed to the Niguang Sanatorium on the outskirts. Meanwhile, Suro appeared at Jiangdong University and went to her mother's office building. "Mom, come over. I have something to tell you. That dead country guy, he talks without restraint, revealing everything." A glance from her daughter, and the mother understood her intentions. From the caring expression on her daughter's face, she knew that her daughter was aware of her condition, which filled her with comfort. However, she couldn't resist scolding Fang Hao. She asked her research assistant to continue the research and then walked out with Suro. The mother and daughter strolled along the tree-lined path on the campus, finding a cool and secluded spot to sit. "Alright, that country bumpkin has already told you everything. I'm fine, not going to die. Don't cry for me in advance. Go, attend your class." "Mom, I took a day off today. During this time, I'll accompany you. Even if you beat me with a stick, I won't leave." "Mom, I'm sorry. I neglected you." Suro sincerely apologized, her eyes moist, but she held back her tears. "Oh, you're sorry? You and that country guy colluded to deceive me. I still haven't settled this score with you. I don't understand. You're my daughter. How can you stand on his side? You really make me angry. I never expected that you would. First, you acted on your own, and then you lied to me. You're quite something. Now, thinking about it, it's very likely that the country guy suggested it. Tell me, did he incite you?" "Mom, Fang Hao has been working hard. Stop calling him a country guy, it sounds unpleasant." "What? You find it unpleasant when I call him a country guy?" "I'm just saying he's a country guy. His ancestors for 8 generations were all country people. Fortunately, the child is registered under your household, or else we would have 2 more country guys." "Mom, you're right. He is a country guy. I'll transfer the household registration to his place, and then I'll be a country girl too. Then, you can scold a few more country guys to vent your anger." "Ah, boha." The daughter becomes estranged as she grows up. The mother sighed and changed the topic, saying, "However, that country guy has some potential. His boasting has impressed me. At noon, he said he wanted to buy a house, and he specifically mentioned Tianji Peak. The confidence, you have no idea how impressive he was." "Tianji Peak?" Suro's heart trembled upon hearing that place. She understood her husband's thoughts to some extent. He suspected something related to that place. After their divorce, he wanted to live better than her, better than that person, to avoid being looked down upon. Her husband was so cute and frightening. However, the next moment, a sentence from her mother shocked Suro even more. Her mother said, "Sell your house, our villa, and buy in Tianji Peak. If it's not enough, take out a loan. You can slowly repay the remaining amount." "Mom, that's not allowed. My husband said he wants to buy it himself. He definitely won't accept your money." "Mom, give him some dignity." "Nonsense. If he has dignity, he won't be able to buy a house on Tianji Peak for his whole life. He can't even afford a toilet in a house there. Who does he think he is? He's just a nobody. Oh, he's just a fart, humph. We can't allow you to sell the house and buy one for him. Otherwise, he will leave immediately and go back to the countryside. Even better. The country guy should go back to the countryside. I won't see him, and I'll feel relieved. It prevents him from boasting to me every day." Suro's feelings were complicated. Was her husband really so boastful? And her mother's attitude clearly indicated approval of her husband. Over there, Fang Hao had started pulse diagnosis for Han Yun and then proceeded with acupuncture. Lu Yu accompanied them. When Han Yun fell asleep after the acupuncture, Lu Yu went out to talk to the leaders of the sanatorium. As expected, she was rejected. She returned, shaking her head at Fang Hao, indicating that it was a failure. Fang Hao, however, was not in a hurry. He held the ace card that Yue Xia was not his biological child. Once he revealed it, Suro would have no choice but to divorce him. Currently, Suro didn't disclose the identity of that person, but Fang Hao was getting closer from multiple angles. That person had likely received treatment here before, perhaps regularly. Based on the registration information under Suro's pseudonym Yue Xia, there were intervals between visits. When that person sent a package to his wife, he used a monthly delivery service from a major company in the city. This indicated a connection between that person and the company. The delivery was made to Tianji Peak, suggesting that the person most likely lived there. The traces of this person could be tracked, and once a breakthrough occurred, Fang Hao would know who it was. Su Ro would try to cover it up, and Fang Hao had anticipated this because sometimes, the more one tried to conceal, the more obvious it became. Just like a lie that sometimes required 1,000 lies to help cover it up. When an error occurred in any link, the whole lie would unravel. Su Ro had hidden it from him for 4 years, but inadvertently, Fang Hao's paternity test exposed her deception. When Fang Hao turned around and saw Su Ro's distress, it was increasing more and more. You could hide it for a while, but you couldn't hide it for a lifetime. That scoundrel could hide for a while, but he certainly couldn't hide for a lifetime. Fang Hao felt that he didn't need to actively search for that person. When the time came, the person would naturally expose himself, and what he needed to do was plan how to retaliate when that happened. It was contradictory and frustrating, but he had to endure. Dr. Fang, I'll treat you to dinner and a movie tonight. Meng Yu also came over, watching Fang Hao finish the treatment, and then extended the invitation. No, I have to work the night shift tonight. Thanks for your kind offer, Miss Meng. Fang Hao glanced at Meng Yu and directly refused, completing the final steps of the treatment. Being rejected, Meng Yu felt a bit disappointed and a little annoyed. As Fang Hao packed up the medicine box and left, she followed. Dr. Fang, how can you refuse me twice? I'm inviting you again, and this time, you can't refuse. Just take leave now and leave with me later. Fang Hao shook his head and said, Miss Meng, thanks for your kind offer again. I've just started making progress at the hospital, so taking leave now isn't ideal. Also, I have bronchitis and can't go out with you. Bronchitis? You're a doctor. How can you get sick? Don't you treat yourself? Is your health not good? Fang Hao was a bit speechless. Meng Yu was quite naive. After placing the medicine box back, he lit a cigarette and realized it was the last one. He hadn't expected to finish the entire pack in half a day. Recently, he had been smoking a lot. On the other hand, Meng Yu searched the internet about bronchitis, frowned, and then laughed, saying, Fang Hao, it turns out you're afraid of your wife. Fang Hao exhaled a puff of smoke, neither confirming nor denying. This woman's thought process was truly something. Now, she just realized it. Chapter 102, She's the Mastermind. Cough, cough. Your cigarettes are really harsh. Are they the cheapest ones? It smells terrible. Stop smoking and throw it away. Meng Yu came over but got choked by the smoke. These cigarettes cost a few bucks. Although the quality is a bit low, they fit my budget. I'd love to smoke better ones, but I can't afford them. Besides, these are the ones I smoked when I just started smoking. We've been through a lot together. Fang Hao still didn't care much and continued to smoke. TSK. Don't let your cheap cigarettes bother my grandma. Don't worry. I don't smoke before treatments. Now that it's over, my smoking won't affect your grandma. Fang Hao, you really don't give me face. Won't you have dinner with me? I won't. You? Meng Yu humphed and walked away, while Fang Hao squatted by the roadside, continuing to smoke. Lu Yu and the other doctors continued the follow-up examination for Han Yun. Finding no issues, she and Fang Hao left together. Lu Yu asked, Fang Hao, you seem to have a lot of admirers. Fang Hao glanced at Lu Yu and said, Oh, what do you mean? Is there someone secretly in love with me in the gynecology department? No, I mean Meng Yu. That little girl has her eyes on you. Oh, her? She invited me to dinner, but I refused. Besides, I have a wife and child. I won't cheat on them. I'm not that kind of person. I haven't done anything. Fang Hao asked again, Chief, am I that obvious? I know you're not that kind of person. If you were a playboy, you wouldn't have such excellent medical skills. Young people should focus on their profession, otherwise, they'll regret it later. Lu Jing is a good example. When she was young, she was a talented doctor, but she played around with your master and Zhang Jun, neglecting her studies. Your master is an even clearer example. Arrogant and self-conceited, he didn't study hard and ended up lagging behind. They are the worst performing among them. Oh, I see. Chief, tell me more about their past. I'm quite interested. Come to the gynecology department, and I'll tell you. How about that? Hee, Chief, you're quite cunning. Fang Hao returned to the hospital and talked with Lu Jing for a while, mainly about some corrections Lu Jing wanted in their paper before publication. She and the editor were well acquainted. Once they submitted the paper, they would get a publication certificate, which they could then submit to the hospital to have an impact on the promotion evaluation. The hospital had launched activities for the construction of medical skills and other aspects. Fang Hao's 3 papers, along with the future one on myasthenia gravis, conveniently filled in the gaps in Lu Jing's current shortcomings. At 6 in the evening, Fang Hao's emergency consultation began. Then, he encountered a bizarre patient. A young man with blonde hair walked in, handed Fang Hao a cigarette, which Fang Hao politely declined. Unfazed, the man asked, "Dr. Fang, I want to ask if there's a way to increase size?" "Increase? Increase what?" "My manhood." I'm sorry, but that's not within my professional capabilities. I suggest you see a urologist." Well, it turned out this guy was asking about enlargement. Fang Hao couldn't help but smile wryly. However, the next patient asked about lengthening, and there were others asking about kidney tonics. Then, a young woman came in, asking for a monkey delivery. Several other young women complained about their boyfriend's size and stamina, asking Fang Hao for solutions. Some even wanted breast enhancement, buttock lifts, and more. Fang Hao finally realized that someone was intentionally causing trouble for him. It was only his second clinic, and he was facing such a situation. He really wanted to flip the table and leave. "I need to stay calm." He sent a message to Lu Jing, inquiring about the situation. Lu Jing was also surprised and advised Fang Hao to be more cautious. If necessary, he should just end the clinic early. Fang Hao checked the number of people who registered to see him and found there were still over 100. Let's see who's so bored. Next, the head nurse arrived at the clinic. Seeing it was Dr. Fang, she felt surprised and displeased. Just a moment ago, Dr. Lu called her and, as she and Dr. Lu were fooling around in the office, she pretended she hadn't finished work yet. Consequently, she was assigned to cover a shift in the emergency room. She thought it was the director's shift, but to her surprise, it was Dr. Fang's. She recalled the last time Dr. Fang filled in for Dr. Lu, and there were no issues. Now that Dr. Fang was handling the emergency room, there shouldn't be any problems either. She immediately smiled and stood beside Dr. Fang. Dr. Fang, on the other hand, didn't take the head nurse seriously and motioned for the next registered patient to come in. The next patient was a young man asking about enlargement issues. When the head nurse heard the question, she instinctively interjected, "How long is yours? Take it out and let's have a look." The young man was embarrassed and hesitated to show it in front of the nurse. Dr. Fang intervened, "This is a urology issue. You should go to the urology department." The young man said, "Isn't this a hospital? Shouldn't we be able to see any illness here?" Dr. Fang explained, "In theory, yes, but this is the emergency room. We don't have the equipment for enlargement here. If you insist, you'll have to follow the head nurse's suggestion and let her examine you." The young man quickly ran away. Dr. Fang then smirked at the head nurse, "Head nurse, you don't really want to examine him, do you? Do you understand urology?" I didn't mean that." Feeling mocked, the head nurse's image seemed to be trampled by Dr. Fang, making her feel extremely embarrassed. "Head nurse, if he insisted, and you had to examine him, what would you do? Besides, I can't solve his enlargement problem. Can you? I'm not a doctor, how could I?" "Then don't speak." "All right." The head nurse wanted to explode. How could Dr. Fang, just a junior doctor, treat her like this? But she dared not explode because Dr. Lu had high expectations for Dr. Fang and wanted to nurture him. If she went against Dr. Fang, she would be going against Dr. Lu. She didn't have the courage for that. Around 8 o'clock. The arriving patients left Dr. Fang shocked, seemingly realizing why there were so many young men and women causing trouble tonight. And with the appearance of Meng Yu, her half-smiling expression and the satisfaction in her eyes practically spelled out the answer. Tonight, she was the mastermind. "Head nurse, what are you doing here?" Meng Yu glanced at the head nurse. "Oh, my stomach hurts. Dr. Fang, I need to use the restroom." The head nurse also joined the act, holding her stomach, and without waiting for Dr. Fang's agreement, she left the room. A few steps outside, her stomach miraculously stopped hurting. But her heart surged with emotions because the woman who had just arrived had a significant background. Once, she saw this girl holding hands with the old hospital director, appearing very intimate. The way they looked, it seemed like a grandmother and granddaughter or a grandmother and her granddaughter. In any case, it looked very close. She began to suspect how this girl knew Dr. Fang. She had the urge to go back and eavesdrop for more gossip, but she didn't dare. Chapter 103, Thoughts in the Day, Dreams at Night. Dr. Fang, hello. I'm not feeling well now, you have to check on me. Meng Yu sat in front of Fang Hao, extending her hand for him to feel her pulse. Fang Hao frowned, arranging these people to come over, what's the point? You're disrupting the medical order in our emergency department. Your people took appointments and occupied time slots, and the genuinely ill people outside can't receive timely treatment. Meng Yu replied, what does that have to do with me? They paid to see a doctor, just like I paid for an appointment. Dr. Fang, hurry up and check on me, I'm feeling uncomfortable. Fang Hao said, if you continue like this, I'll report you to your grandmother. Tomorrow, if there's a delay in my treatments, blame it on you. Do you think my grandmother would listen to you or me? You are her favorite granddaughter, so, naturally, she will favor you. But on matters of treatment, she won't listen to you because you don't understand it. If you cause trouble, the favor you receive from your grandmother will disappear. Inconsiderate children are not liked by anyone. Fang Hao, I apologize to you. Just don't tell my grandmother. Meng Yu glared at Fang Hao, not expecting him to tattle. Using trivial matters as a threat, she was dissatisfied, but she had no choice but to leave. With her departure, the others who had registered also cancelled their appointments and left. Now, Fang Hao had only a few sporadic patients. He asked the head nurse to leave, and he focused on reading and studying the materials sent by his doctoral supervisor. He progressed rapidly in his studies, having completed the textbooks for the first phase. The supervisor sent materials, and in the next 2 days, he would send an exam paper to assess Fang Hao's understanding. Having communicated with the supervisor, as long as Fang Hao completed the coursework, read the materials, passed the exams, and successfully defended his thesis, he would be awarded the doctoral degree. The requirements for in-service and full-time students were different. After all, in-service students paid fees, and the hospital facilitated their convenience. Full-time students were nurtured by the state and had to follow the standard training route to be accountable to the nation. At the end of the working hours, Fang Hao returned to his marital home in the community. Seeing his wife there surprised him. He asked, are the children okay over there? His wife replied, I'll go over early tomorrow, there shouldn't be any problems. Alright, freshen up and let's go to bed. Fang Hao initially wanted to suggest going over now so that his wife could sleep in tomorrow. However, he thought about how idle this woman was at home, and she might use the time to meet her lover. He needed to reflect on himself. For the past 4 years, except for the first day when his wife was pregnant and couldn't do anything, the following 2 to 3 years, he took care of all the household chores. His wife had nothing to do, waiting eagerly for her lover to arrive or going to accompany him. Fang Hao had truly whitewashed his wife and handed her over to someone else. In bed, his wife once again approached for intimacy. Fang Hao chuckled, saying, why are you so passionate recently? In the past 2 weeks, we've done more than in the last half year. Are you trying to make up for something you did wrong, wanting to compensate me now? Today, because Fang Hao suddenly appeared at the company, took away the intimate delivery, and even discovered Tianji Feng, his wife couldn't go to meet her lover, so she cancelled her business trip. At noon, Fang Hao's revelation forced his wife to suppress her yearning for her lover, return to the family, and take care of her mother, Zhou Fen. Upon hearing this, the wife's heart swayed, feeling an extremely fearful sense of guilt. Since the first time her husband drank and became rough, she discovered his astonishing endurance. Every time they engaged in intimate activities, she experienced intense pleasure, sometimes even reaching consecutive climaxes, making her body feel refreshed. And when they didn't engage, she felt uncomfortable. She knew she had desires, and only her husband's extraordinary endurance could fulfill them. The old pervert didn't possess the same capability to satisfy her psychologically, although he could provide emotional satisfaction. At the age of 26 or 27, if she couldn't find satisfaction, she naturally felt unhappy. She softly said, I haven't done anything wrong to you, you're the only man for me. Husband, I only have you. I'm your wife, and I want to bring you happiness. Husband, do you like this kind of happiness? Why wouldn't I like it? Can't you feel it? Yes, husband, it's amazing. Later, the two fell asleep, exhausted. In the early morning, the wife felt the need to use the bathroom and got up to relieve herself. When she returned, she saw her husband sprawled out and snoring. She couldn't help but feel sorry for him for 3 seconds because yesterday morning, afternoon, and night, she made her husband exert himself. It was only because he was young, otherwise, he wouldn't be able to withstand such exertion. A good woman wasting a man. Thinking of this phrase, she couldn't help but smile faintly, then leaned against her husband's embrace, appreciating this young, handsome, and strong man. She flicked her husband's nose with her hair, finding that he moved slightly but didn't wake up. Her husband's squished nose looked adorable. Seeing her husband deep in slumber, she decided not to disturb him further. As she turned away, she felt a sudden bounce from behind. It was an unconscious movement in his sleep. Seeing the blanket fall off her husband, she walked over to cover him. "Suaro, why did you lie to me? Why? Why are you treating me like this with him?" Hearing these words, the wife's body trembled involuntarily. She was about to say something when she realized her husband was talking in his sleep. After saying these words, he didn't utter anything more. From his breathing and reactions, it was clear he was dreaming. The words spoken were just part of his dream. "Husband?" Listening to her husband's sleep talk, her heart shook. Clearly, her husband had learned something unfavorable about her, causing him to suspect and investigate. Perhaps, her husband had even confirmed that she was involved with someone else. However, he might not know who that person was, which was why he made the comments about divorce yesterday at noon and the previous remarks about divorcing with the child and her mother. But how did her husband find out? Where did she expose herself, allowing her husband to catch on? "Fang Hao, I won't divorce you." The wife, with a troubled mind, lay by the bed, leaning against the headboard. In the dim and gentle lamplight, she pulled her legs close, hugging her knees, and rested her chin on them, sinking into contemplation. She began to recall the moments with Fang Hao over the past 4 years. She realized the memories were blurry, with only the image of Fang Hao working night shifts and being busy at home. She had never bothered to care about Fang Hao because she thought he was very honest, obedient, and a bit silly. Was the day my husband behaved strangely the day he drank at home? But on which day did he go out? Why can't I remember anything? Husband, did you find out about my affair that day? But I didn't do anything on that day. Chapter 104, You're the son-in-law who came to the door. The next day, when Fang Hao woke up, he found that his wife had already gotten up early and even prepared a cup of wolfberry tea for him. He said, "You don't treat me like a 60 or 70-year-old man who needs to rely on wolfberry to live, do you?" His wife's heart trembled. Was her husband implying something with these words? She replied, "You said it yourself yesterday, that these days I demand a lot from you. I'm afraid you'll collapse. Husband, you're strong now, you're the most important person in the family, you can't break down." "Oh, when did I become the most important?" Fang Hao extended a finger, counted, and said, "I'm the last one." In front of him were his mother-in-law, wife, and children, and his position was indeed the last. "No, I said you're the most important, so you are. Moreover, now you're treating mom's heart disease, you're crucial." "Oh, so I still have some use." Fang Hao also enjoyed the feeling of being cherished. He glanced down at the wolfberry tea. It was just right, and the taste was pretty good. He felt a bitter sweetness in his heart. "Suro, do you often make tea for that old lover? Is that why you're so good at it?" "Old guy, I won't let you off." After Fang Hao and his wife tidied up, they left for their mother-in-law's villa. He hadn't seen his son and daughter for a day, and he missed them. When they arrived at the villa, the car was parked on the roadside outside the gate, and his wife went in first. Fang Hao adjusted the car seat. The children would be getting in soon, so he needed to throw away the garbage in the car. "You must be Fang Hao, right? I remember you. I called you yesterday to buy groceries. Why didn't you? And you didn't come back all night. What were you busy with? You came at the right time today. Clean the house." As Fang Hao was about to walk into the house, a middle-aged woman approached him, ordering him without any politeness. "Who are you?" Fang Hao frowned. He didn't expect this woman to order him around like this. Her face was even more hateful than the foreman on the construction site and the nurse who gave orders in the infusion hall a while ago. "Who am I?" "I'm your sister-in-law." "Oh, you're the one my dad hired as a cleaner. Isn't buying groceries and cleaning the house your job?" "Oh, you really treat me as a maid?" "Fang Hao, don't forget your identity." "What identity?" "You're the son-in-law who came to the Su family. You're from the countryside, you have nothing. If it weren't for the Su family, could you stay at the provincial people's hospital? Could you live here? Do you really think that with your background, you can marry the most beautiful daughter of the Su family, Suro? You're just the son-in-law who came to the Su family. So, doing some work, what right do you have to complain? Oh, that's the Su family's car, don't drive it. Give me the keys. I'm taking this car. The cleaning maid, who was also the sister-in-law, was quick to snatch Fang Hao's car keys. Before Fang Hao could react, she had already grabbed them. Take your stuff and leave, or I'll throw it away. The maid unlocked the car and asked Fang Hao to take his things. Fang Hao was very angry, extremely angry. He wished he could slap her right away. But he held back. Since he was going to divorce Su Ro, he didn't want to see the faces of the Su family anymore. This car indeed belonged to the Su family. He only had the right to use it, not the ownership. Now that they wanted it back, what could he say? Complain to his mother-in-law about the right to use this car? The maid's attitude was terrible. Could it really be her fault? Wasn't it the Su family's problem? The people of the Su family probably thought so. So, they never respected me from the beginning, treating me like someone who came from the countryside to marry into the family. Well, Su Ro has cheated, and this marriage is over. Fang Hao sighed deeply, got into the car, took his small bag, and the medicine box from the back. He was now outside the main gate of the compound, looking up at the villa in front of him, feeling a sense of unfamiliarity and disgust. What are you standing there for? Hurry up and get in and do some work. With such a big house, if you don't clean it, what use are you to me? The maid was very pleased, her eyes almost looking up to the sky. Oh, the house is indeed big. So, take your time to clean it. Let me say it again, you are the maid here. And I am not the son-in-law who came to the door. You, who are you calling a maid? Your whole family is a bunch of maids. You are the son-in-law who came to the door. If you don't want to come in, then don't bother. The maid said, blocking the doorway. If you want to come in, apologize to me. Haha, I've never seen what a fierce dog blocking the way looks like until this morning. Fang Hao sneered, slung the medicine box over his shoulder, and walked away. He sent a message to his wife, telling her to take the children to school and saying that he had something to do at the hospital and had to leave first. While his wife was helping the children get ready in the room, she waited for quite a while but didn't see Fang Hao come in. She went out and called, but didn't hear Fang Hao respond. She went back to the room, picked up her phone, saw Fang Hao's message, didn't think much about it, and replied with a, okay. During breakfast, Tian was dissatisfied, sitting with crossed arms, not understanding what to do. His wife said, Tian, eat quickly, and then go to kindergarten. These don't taste good, I want to eat what Dad makes. The maid nearby said, there's bread and milk, and fried eggs. I think they taste good. I don't like any of these. Tian didn't give any face, speaking loudly. If you don't eat, you'll go hungry. The maid said to Su Ro, children shouldn't be spoiled. I won't eat. Tian slid out of his seat and walked away. The maid said again, wait, he'll come over in a while. His wife frowned, calling, Tian, come here. No, I won't eat. It's too bad, I want to eat what Dad makes. Tian was very stubborn and refused to come over. Jia also put down her bread, saying, I want to eat what Dad makes. Where's Dad, Mom? You said I would see Dad as soon as I woke up. I'm dressed now, why haven't I seen him? The maid said, Xiao Ro, you're not educating the children properly. That Fang Hao is from the countryside, he doesn't know how to educate children. We, the Su family, have rules. His wife frowned tightly, thinking of something. She asked the maid, what did you say to Fang Hao just now? The maid was eating an egg and drinking skimmed milk. She said, I didn't say anything. I just told him to know the rules. He's the son-in-law who came to the door, he should come and buy groceries and clean. You, how can you say that about my husband? You're the one who buys groceries and cleans. His wife stood up abruptly, staring at the maid. Xiao. The maid was shocked, not expecting Su Ro to explode like this, and the bread in her hand dropped. Su Ro quickly picked up her phone, had the children pick up their backpacks, and went out. She called Fang Hao, but found that he didn't answer, making her stomp her feet in frustration. My husband is already investigating me, and we're about to get a divorce. Being called the son-in-law who came to the door, he must feel humiliated. What should I do? Chapter 105, Scheming Once. After leaving, Fang Hao hailed a taxi and got in at the entrance of the residential area. Seeing that it was on the way, he decided to make a stop at the traditional Chinese medicine hospital first. After all, he had planned to visit there today. He thought the maid's disdain for him wasn't a coincidence, it was how the Su family had always viewed him. They considered him the son-in-law who came to the door, treating him like a beggar, a worthless wimp. Perhaps the maid was bad-mouthing him behind his back, and the Su family was likely laughing at him too. He decided not to answer his wife's calls. Arriving at the Chinese medicine hospital, he saw the peasant couple already up, having breakfast of steamed buns and porridge, sharing a pack of pickled vegetables. He couldn't help but envy them. This was what a married couple should be. Spouses should support each other, especially during difficult times. Dr. Fang, you're here. Have you had breakfast? Would you like some more? No, thank you. Eva eat then. I have something to attend to at noon, so I came to check in first. Fang Hao politely declined and went into the ward. The young man had finished eating and was slowly doing some postprandial recovery exercises. Dr. Fang, I felt stronger today. I was able to lift a bucket of water just now. The young man was pleasantly surprised to see Fang Hao eagerly sharing his progress. Good, very good. That indicates that the treatment is effective. Let's continue the treatment. Fang Hao was also pleased, it meant his treatment plan was working. He examined the patient's condition, compared the daily changes, and in this comparison, he could observe some variations. Going back to consult medical books, integrating knowledge, his medical skills were also improving. In terms of acupuncture, he also felt that he had some ideas. Back in the marital home, Suro didn't see Fang Hao, and she had a bad feeling. The private detective had also reached the hospital but didn't find Fang Hao. Having already asked Lu Jing once, he couldn't go again without raising suspicion. He had to rely on others to help with the inquiry. Where's my husband? He must be investigating me again. Just like yesterday, he arrived at the company ahead of me, found the express delivery, confronted me, and now he's found something else today. Maybe he's going to divorce me. Husband, why are you still investigating me? Don't I do well enough? Husband, please stop investigating. Pretend this never happened, and I'll be good to you, 100 times better. Please stop investigating. Suro sat on the sofa in a daze, surrounded by familiar furniture and an accustomed environment that now felt lonely. Just then, her phone rang, likely one of her lovers. Susu, you didn't come yesterday. Come today, I miss you. My husband is investigating very closely. Let's not meet again. Let's break up. She said it and hung up directly. Feeling disheveled, she stared at her phone, hoping that person would call again for reassurance but also dreading the call. Right now, she needed to deal with Fang Hao first. If Fang Hao divorced her, she would be the loser. She couldn't bear the label of a divorced woman, it would be detrimental to her. Her mother, Zhou Fen, currently had heart problems and couldn't be stressed, otherwise, she might be upset to death. Her father, Su Buiyuan, was fooling around with a young girl, another ticking time bomb. The new maid stirred up trouble by saying Fang Hao was a son-in-law who came to the door. Now, Fang Hao had disappeared. Everything was piling up at once. What should I do? Yesterday, I threatened Fang Hao with death to keep him from leaving me. What about today? After treating the young man, Fang Hao called Lu Yu. He planned to visit Han Yun in the morning for an additional acupuncture session, accelerating her recovery. Lu Yu couldn't make it in the morning but communicated with Han Yun, and they agreed to let Fang Hao go on his own. Since Fang Hao didn't have a car, he had to take a taxi to the recuperation center. At the center, besides Han Yun, Fang Hao noticed 3 other elderly individuals on the verge of a stroke. It seemed like they might experience a stroke in the near future. Stroke could strike without warning. Some elderly people, while sleeping, might suddenly find their limbs numb, paralyzed, unable to turn over. Others, while drinking tea, could lose the ability to move, sitting there as a stroke hit. It could happen in various situations, but the cause was the same, blood vessel blockage or severe vessel rupture leading to internal bleeding, a life-threatening situation. The 3 elderly individuals in front of Fang Hao were already showing some symptoms. Dr. Fang is quite young. One of the elderly men eyed Fang Hao suspiciously. In his opinion, those proficient in traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture were usually older individuals who had accumulated experience over the years. Fang Hao smiled faintly, saying, "You're right, sir. I still have a lot to learn. If you think I'm too young, it's probably because I'm acknowledging my limited experience. As long as it pleases you, does it matter? Otherwise, if you collapse, blame me? Han Yun added, "Don't underestimate him because of his age. I won't talk about my personal experience, but have you heard about old Chen a few days ago?" Dr. Fang went over to bleed old Chen, saving him from a critical condition and buying time for subsequent treatments. "Let him feel your pulses, and he'll have a deep insight into your illnesses." "Is that so?" "Young man, my apologies. Show us what you've got. Start with Han Jia, then check the rest of us." The elderly man laughed heartily, quite straightforward. "In a while, I'll show you what I can do. Consider it a reference, but please rely on your current rehabilitation plans." Fang Hao began by examining and treating Han Yun with acupuncture. Afterward, he checked the pulses of the three others, explaining their health issues and offering some advice. Under their insistence, Fang Hao performed acupuncture on all three, temporarily alleviating their symptoms. For instance, the elderly man with a weak heart received strengthening treatment. The elderly woman with asthma stopped coughing noticeably, and the left-hand tremor and numbness of another elderly woman reduced after Fang Hao's acupuncture. Of course, these were temporary measures, effective for about 20 hours. After tomorrow, their symptoms would likely return. If they wanted to fully recover, they would need ongoing treatment from Fang Hao. Fang Hao schemed a bit this time.